Hello and welcome to Artists Soar. This is a podcast for artists by 3 artists. We discuss all aspects of being artists, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The goal of each podcast is to provide solutions so artists can focus on their creativity and soar above. I'm Rachel Harshenko.
Jules McCullough.
Stephanie Weaver.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We have a special guest joining us today. And today we're welcoming Carrie Cantwell. She is an illustrator and surface designer and educator who lives in Atlanta, Georgia. We've kind of met through a mutual friend of ours, Kat Collette. So I wanted to welcome Carrie. And it's really nice to have you on our podcast. And if you wanted to add a little bit to your bio, because I know you've got some interesting history.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me on. I love your podcast. And yeah, I have an interesting background. I worked as a film and television graphic designer for 16 years. Basically what that means, a lot of people ask me, and it's hard to imagine. They think maybe I did movie titles. What I did was designed a lot of the fake things that you see on the set, like, props, signs, logos, menus, things like that. Everything that would have graphic design, on it in the real world, but I designed it for movie and TV sets. And it was basically the stuff that the actors would interact with to help make the story more real and kind of tell the story of this fake world that, doesn't exist. And then I've also done some biopics as well that are, based on real, true stories. But yeah, so I did that for 16 years. And I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I earned some awards and, accolades for that. But I got to a point where I was kind of burning out. And I felt like, and I had done graphic design even before I did that. And I kind of just had this realization that, like, I didn't want to just keep making someone else's vision a reality. I really wanted to create the art that I wanted to see in the world. And that was what kind of drew me to become an entrepreneur and, illustrator, surface designer, etc.
Very cool. I mean, what a fun background. I think we all, at some point experience burnout, but what a cool experience to be part of the film industry for a period of time. And maybe that's more from an outsider looking in, obviously, but yeah.
It was really exciting. I mean, I have no regrets. I really enjoyed it. And I'm a huge movie buff. That was kind of what really got me into that. So I have no regrets, but I just knew that at the rate I was going, as I got older, that I was, I didn't have the energy I used to have for 12 to 14 hour days, 6-day weeks. Yeah. And it wasn't just like a regular day where what you're going to do. I mean, things got really frantic sometimes, and that's fun. But as I got older, I was like, I don't know if this is fun anymore. I'm really tired.
I understand you had burnout and everything, but you had to quit a good paying job and go out on your own and not just start like a business, but an art business, which, it pays so well. So how did you develop your business and how did it grow? Like, how were the early days compared to now?
Yeah. I mean, it was really scary. When I first, was kind of looking at leaving the film industry, it wasn't just that. Hopefully you guys can edit that out. I had, health insurance. I loved what I did. I had pretty much guaranteed jobs. I had 401k, and I am not making this up, pension, because I was in a union. I'm actually still in that union, which is like rare. So I was leaving this really comfortable, career that I'd really built a name for myself in, to start all over again. and start all over again in something that I didn't know that much about. I knew a little bit about it, and it was scary, but I'm someone who really believes that if I just, stop overthinking things and don't be my own worst enemy, and just, I'm a really, really hard worker. And if I want to do something, I will put 110% into it. And I knew I would. So I was like, I believe, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight. But, I know that if I put this work in, I am going to get out what I put in eventually. So it took a lot of faith and a lot of patience and a lot of, I would say, like, business creativity, because it wasn't just about me going, all right, I'm going to do this one thing for this one client forever. It was, okay, I'm going to do these 10 things. So I have like 10 jobs. So I'm going to do these 10 different, ways of earning income and, getting my art out there. And, if one thing kind of slows down or doesn't take off at all, I have other options. And for me, I had previous, before I was a film industry graphic designer, I had my own graphic design firm, and I, worked with clients, big ones like WebMD and even small ones. And I know kind of how art business works already a little bit, because I had my own trial and error with that for years. Yeah. So it wasn't quite as scary, but I was still starting all over again. So it was a little scary, but I was like, I know I'm going to put 110% into this. And, I was very, I had just had a lot of faith in myself, I guess, which is good. I needed it.
No, I think that's wonderful. And the fact that you are trying to spread your art through different means and avenues, I think, was a really good thing as well. So how did you land on Spoonflower? I know that's, our main conversation today is kind of centered around that. And you're a big Spoonflower advocate. And like, what drew you to them, and how did you come across them?
Yeah, I am a walking advertisement for Spoonflower, and I am not affiliated with them in any way. So I get no benefit from this other than my own happiness, if other people find them. I discovered Spoonflower really interestingly. It was my boyfriend and I were designing and building a tiki bar on our back porch. We have like a back screened in porch. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted some unique, cool fabric. So I bought all this retro, vintage furniture, rattan furniture. Because it was vintage, the upholstery was a little worse for wear. And I'm like, I can sew enough to be dangerous. I'm going to try to find some really cool fabric so I can recover these chairs and, put a nice, some nice custom cushions on this little rattan sofa. And so I just started looking online, and, like a lot of people, I had heard of, Joanne and Hancock fabrics from back in the day, but, the internet, there's so much on the internet. So I just started looking online, and I found Spoonflower, and I ended up buying some fabric, and I was blown away by the quality of the colors and the fabric and everything. And I started realizing, wait a minute, these people are artists like me. This is not one company that has, in-house designers. This is artists like me. I wonder if I could do that. So then I just started researching it and looking around on Spoonflower, and decided to start uploading some art and, learning the ins and outs of how it works and all of that. So, and, once I was on there for a little bit, I just fell in love with everything. It's a great community, but even the people who work there are like the nicest. It's like this huge print on demand site, but you really feel like it's this personal experience, both as a customer and as an artist, between you and the other artists, you and the customers, and even, you and the people who work there. So I just love it.
So did you get started on there and start making sales by participating in the challenges and such? Or how did you, get seen and get found on there?
Yeah. The design challenges are a really big part of that. And I think that I have my class that I'm teaching right now, and I encourage everybody to participate because it's fun, but it's also a great way, to be found. I really just started putting stuff up there that I loved. And, I kind of researched tags, like what is doing well and why. And you can see that data. It's all public data on their site, and trying to examine, like, what is it about this pattern that makes it a bestseller or trending? Is it because of the way it looks, or is it also because they're using a great description or great tags? And I just kind of started doing my own marketing data or research, and kind of just learning from that, and saying, okay, well, so if I want to call a pattern, floral, but the trending tag that seems to work really well is flowers, that's a really valuable piece of information. So that, as an example, is one of the ways I learned how to get found. Okay. And I did get found. I didn't even know until they tagged me, but Peppermint magazine featured me and one of my patterns on one of their projects. And they did this crazy, huge photo shoot with one of my patterns. And once that happened, I was doing well before that. But then once that happened, I just started getting all this notoriety. And I'm now featured in lots of different curated collections from Spoonflower themselves, which is really great. So it just kind of builds on itself. And, in the beginning, it was slow. But that's the way anything is in the beginning. Right. And I just kept creating and posting and putting stuff up there and consistently creating new work.
Okay. So I have a practical question, on that. So were you doing like one design a week, two design? In the beginning, when you were trying to like really establish your Spoonflower account, which looks amazing, and you are featured in everything. You're featured in the Neutral Nursery, fall sale, boho fabrics, trending, everything. You're all over Spoonflower. So I guess it's like, what were your steps? Were you trying to put one thing up or two things up, or were you trying to like, okay, my goal for this month or my goal for this quarter? Did you have anything like that in mind when you started, or did you just kind of go, I love this design, I'm going to put it up? And then
that's exactly what I did.
I don't know. How intentional.
I didn't really have much of a plan. I would say, what would be really cool? A pattern like this, like I did one that's like Andy Warhol pop art cans, but I did it with cat food because I kind of love cats, in case you may have noticed. Yeah. And
I got to find this one. Okay.
I thought that one was really funny. I'm actually going to put that on my site, I think, because somebody said something to me about that the other day, like, that's brilliant. And I was like, thanks. But a lot of it was just me being like, this would be fun. This is something I would want. So I'm just going to put it up there and see what happens. And then I started putting up, I was probably putting up like 4 or 5 designs a week at first.
Oh, wow.
And then once I got faster, and now I have this like whole way that I create patterns. So I just created one 2 days ago. I drew the art and then I created the pattern in 15 minutes. Now I have a way to do half drop patterns that's extremely fast and efficient, which is my other Skillshare class I teach.
Okay.
But now if I have, the art drawn, I can create 5 or 6 patterns a day. If I want to, if I already know what the art's going to be and I have my main motif laid out. And then one of the things I learned on Spoonflower that really has helped me a whole bunch is if I have a pattern either that's getting a lot of love from the community, it has a lot of likes, or maybe just one that I really love, I'll create like 20 different colorways of that pattern.
Right.
And that's 20 products. So, just by either changing the background color or all of the colors, I can really stretch one piece of artwork without having to, create another illustration, without having to create even another pattern. And I do that in Adobe Illustrator, and I literally can do that in about 30 seconds. It takes longer to upload the art than it does to than it does to actually create.
Yeah, once you get that down, or those instructions down, like you said, it takes longer to put it in your account.
So when you first got started with creating these patterns, if you had to say, how long did it take you back then versus now, so that people who may be getting it started into pattern design can kind of like level set in their mind, okay, so it took 20 hours before, and now it's like 15 minutes, that sort of thing. How long did it take you in the very beginning when you first started doing this?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I actually started with just basic repeats, which were square blocks that were, a few motif or one motif and a few things repeating. And that would take me about 4 or 5 hours just to get it laid out, just to figure out, all of how I wanted it to look. And, so that was one pattern, and it was a basic repeat, which is fine. I mean, I like basic repeats, and I think it works for certain design elements better than others. But I started looking at these other patterns on Spoonflower and being like, how are these so elaborate? And they have so much more movement in them.
Yeah.
And then I discovered that they were half drop patterns. And so then I kind of made it my mission to really master half drop patterns. And then I eventually did. So then it got to the point where I could create a half drop pattern in about 2 hours. So I cut that time in half. And then once I just practiced it, I just did it a whole bunch. And then I realized, wait, I can create keyboard shortcuts where I can repeat elements exactly where they need to be with one keystroke on my keyboard. And then, now I can do an elaborate half drop pattern in 15 minutes. And once I learned that and really kind of grasped that method for me that works really well, that was what made me want to start teaching, because I thought, oh my goodness, I thought about how long it used to take me. And I know other artists are probably going through what I went through. Not to mention, on a separate note, I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, and I had all these hairlines in my patterns. Yeah. And let me just tell you that I found out because someone ordered something on Spoonflower, and they were so nice and contacted me and told me, hey, did you know your pattern has hairlines? And I almost had a heart attack and went through and realized that a lot of my patterns did. So I spent 2 weeks redoing and re-uploading hundreds of patterns to fix them. And I did. And it was not a fun household to be in. I was really stressed out those couple weeks, but I was like, I'm just going to buckle down and do this. So I did. And that was when I kind of made sure to add to my class that I came up with this way of testing my patterns in Photoshop in seconds that is a guarantee that I will never have those hairlines again. And that was the other thing that made me want to start teaching, was because I thought about that 2 weeks and I thought, I can't imagine going through that again. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I know that I look at the art community as kind of, we're all in this together. I'm like, I have got to share this with people. Yeah. I have got to help other people so no one ever has to go through that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
We're applauding you.
Yes.
I'll clap over here.
Thanks.
Definitely. So I have a question with all these patterns and stuff. One of my personal holdbacks on Spoonflower was the fact that I have to order the fabric in order to sell it on there. And you've got hundreds of patterns on there. How do you recommend an artist looking at that challenge and that expense when they're, just starting out, let's say? Yeah.
So that's what I teach in my new class. But
okay,
when I was beginning the process and I realized that you have to order proofs, which, on sites like Society6 and Redbubble and all the other ones, basically, you don't have to. Right. And even on, other sites, print on demand fabric sites like Raspberry Creek, you don't have to. So it was a little intimidating at first. But then I kind of realized, well, you know what, though, as a customer, let me think about this from another perspective. As a customer on Spoonflower, I know that not only does Spoonflower stand behind it, but the person who designed it has physically seen that pattern printed in front of them, and they can stand behind the integrity of the colors and the layout and all of it. Yeah. And as a customer, that gives me more confidence. And I think that's a really good way to do it. In fact, I think that gives Spoonflower an edge over all the other print on demand companies and what makes them really special. And the way I figured it out, and, I have this in my class, but you have to do a proof order, but what I do is I wait until I have 42 designs. That's my magic number. And when that sounds like a lot to you, let me remind you that if I have one pattern and I create 30 different colorways, that's 31 products right there. So, right. It can add up really, really quickly to a lot. And I will wait until I have 42, and then I'll create what's called a cheater quilt. And I go through all of this in my class, but the instructions are, you basically create a sample quilt. It's not a quilt, it's like a patchwork print, but and then on that, you print samples of each pattern, and then you get it in the mail and you can see it. And I can't tell you how many times I have gotten something in the mail and gone, oh, that is too big. Or, oh man, those colors are not different enough. And that is looking really muddy. And the cool thing is, once you order that proof, you can actually upload a revision without paying for a proof again. So it's not super cost prohibitive.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Now, sometimes if I change the colors a lot, I'll do it anyway because I really want to know. And as a graphic designer, I guess maybe it's ingrained in me that you always have proofs.
Right.
Because you don't want something to go to the printer and then, be messed up.
I agree.
I love that idea of the proof quilt type thing. I mean, basically you're just gearing up for Christmas early.
Yeah. Well, and let me give you a little tip. You know what I use those cheater quilts for?
What?
Gift wrap.
Gift wrap.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's an awesome idea.
So I'm recycling the fabric. I'm not just throwing it out. I do have a big stack behind me, as you can see, but that's like a third of them. But I use them as gift wrap. So I just it's called, I think, what is it? That kind of wrapping called? There's a gift wrap.
Bougie, really fancy.
It's Japanese. Yeah. Actually, Spoonflower had a class on that, a free class a couple of years ago that I watched. And that's how I learned about it. But I use them as gift wrap. So then people get this cool, piece of fabric. Sometimes I'll use scarves or whatever, but I love doing that. And then I'm recycling it and people just they keep it, which is awesome.
That is great.
Oh, I love
that's
that
a great idea.
Yeah. It really is.
Brilliant.
And I do agree with you. The proofs are definitely important to get. I remember when I ordered my Spoonflower fabrics, how fun and I ordered 1 yard pieces at that point because I was going to make something out of them. Long story of why that hasn't happened yet. But it was so fun to get these fabrics and lay them out and just see them in person. It's like, oh, wow, I'm really a surface designer, this is really cool.
The tangibility of it all.
Yes. It's so fun.
I've been thumbing through your Spoonflower stuff. And the funny thing is I'm getting ready to reupholster the breakfast room cushions because, I reupholstered them probably about 10 years ago. And so they've survived from the ages 5 through, 15, 16. So they're due. And I love the pattern. My daughter would die for this, the cat canned food. And I love your lazy cats and that quirky cats, but I can't have cats.
You have cats in the garden too. I'm looking at her cats in the garden.
And the magnolias are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that is my pièce de résistance, or however you pronounce that. That was the one that Peppermint magazine found. And, it's crazy because that started out as an art print. It's actually, you probably can't see it. It's next to me, but
the pink.
Yeah. So I created this art print that's like a flower market Atlanta, because, a lot of people create those like Matisse flower market prints for their city or their country. And I realized there wasn't one for Atlanta. And I'm like, I'm going to make one for Atlanta. And then I thought, oh, I guess I should make a pattern out of these flowers. And, I spent some time on it, obviously, but, it was kind of an afterthought, like, oh, I might as well just make a pattern for it. And I just threw it up onto Spoonflower. And then immediately it was like. I was like, whoa, wow, really? Okay, yeah. Awesome. So, I learned too that like florals are the eternally popular like print.
Oh, yeah.
I want to do cats. I just did one with cats and hot air balloons with birds flying by because I thought it'd be fun. But, it's probably not, maybe it will, but it's probably not going to sell as well as some of my florals.
Well, I don't know. Now you put it out there, it probably will.
Yeah, actually, it's my new favorite thing. It was for a design challenge called Pets on Vacation.
Oh, where is
I
that?
pictured like these cats in hot air balloons. And as birds are flying by, they're like looking at them like they want to jump out and get them. But anyway.
Okay.
Very cool.
Where was that challenge?
It's on Spoonflower and it's live like right now. I think the deadline may have just passed or it may be today.
Okay.
But I subscribe to
something together though, Stephanie, if you wanted to.
Well, I don't think I'm not into the surface pattern design thing, but I like to just paint and stuff and admire all the stuff that you guys are doing to me. It's just just kind of level set. That's where I'm coming from. So I was playing around with Facebook like 2 weeks ago for a commission. And what I'm doing is basically only keeping two components of the whole thing, which is the man and the dog. Everything else was changing. And I was trying to get it done in Photoshop. And after like 3 hours screwing around with Photoshop, I'm like, I could paint this sucker 3 different ways faster than this. And that's what I went and did. So you guys mastering Photoshop and taking that skill set to a whole new level with this is admirable. I love it and I don't want to do it.
So let's bring up, you do have a great Skillshare account, but you have a brand new class on this. Can you tell us a little bit about what someone is going to be able to learn from it? I'm looking at it right now.
Hi, my name is Carrie Cantwell.
I hear the trailer playing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Earlier.
No, it's all right.
I
think it auto plays.
Yes, it does.
But yeah, this looks like an amazing class, Carrie. This looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I launched it like Friday evening, and within 24 hours, I had like 100 students or something like that.
Awesome.
Wow,
Yeah, I think
so
my timing
great.
was good too, though, because I launched it and I didn't even think about this, but I launched it right before a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
And a lot of people watch those classes on weekends. So that was totally unintentional. I just was like, oh my God, I finished it and I want to be able to celebrate this weekend. So I'm just going to publish it on Friday. So I hadn't really thought about teaching a class on Spoonflower until I have an art group that I'm in, and it's other surface pattern designers like myself. And, we've just been discussing stuff and they have been asking me questions about Spoonflower. And then they just started saying, you need to teach a class on this. Because I ended up doing like this informal tutorial session with them on Zoom. And they're like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't think about that. And so I just was like, well, I guess I should put a class together. But it covers everything from, and I say this in my intro, but how to stand out. So I think a lot of people don't want to jump into Spoonflower because it is really, it seems oversaturated. And there are a lot of artists on there, but I am literally living proof that you can stand out as an artist on there. And I have not been on Spoonflower since the outset, since they started in 2010. I haven't been on there the whole time at all. I'm a relatively new-ish artist. So I teach methods for discovering what's trending, how to stand out, and then practical stuff like how do you order proofs? What's the best way to do it to save money? What's the best way to, grab their mock-ups for self-promotion and, everything in between. So I just try to cover like everything that I've learned that's helped me become not just like successful on Spoonflower, but achieve recognition. I just want to share that with everybody else on there. or who's not on there and wants to join.
It looks like a really fantastic class. I mean, great Spoonflower. It looks like it takes you from the very beginning, from creating your Spoonflower profile, to scale a pattern, use tags to get noticed, discover trends, create collections, leverage your patterns, proof your art. Just really stuff that would probably take you years to figure out. You've got it here.
It did take me years.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
And I thought, why can I not just teach in less than 2 hours what took me about 3 years to figure out?
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Well, and I love that you've kind of created this passive income for yourself as an artist, but you're doing it, but you're also doing it to help other artists. And that is so great, I think.
I mean, I never really thought of myself as a teacher, but my first degree is in English. And I originally wanted to be an English college professor when I was, 18 or whatever. And I did teach English. I taught creative writing and grammar at a community college here in Atlanta forever ago. And I enjoyed it. And I was told by the staff and the students that they loved my teaching. But, I really wanted to be creating things primarily. And then I realized I can teach about creating things, which is like marrying my two favorite things. So, and it just makes me feel really good because I learned from other people, like Kat Cocolette and others. And I feel like I want to give back to that community because if it weren't for them, all these people that I've learned from on Skillshare and elsewhere, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I kind of look at it as like paying it forward.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking at your Spoonflower account. And I mean, you're not joking about tags, girl. You've got tags out the wazoo. And I love that. Like, you're not going to miss anything over here.
Hopefully not. But, things change, as you guys know, things change. Like trends come and go. And also like things like the Pantone color of the year. And I'm a huge Benjamin Moore fan. I follow them too. They have a color of the year as well. Things are always changing. So I'm always up to date too, or I try to be. So like, Benjamin Moore, one of the reasons I love them is because, people use their paint. And maybe they want curtains that match that paint. And, Benjamin Moore, and I teach this in my class, has swatches that match their fan deck colors exactly that you can use for Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and other programs. They're free. I have a link to it in my bundle in my class. But I use those because then, for like Benjamin Moore colors and especially like a color of the year, I can confidently say that this pattern is using that exact color that you painted your walls with in it from the color of the year. And it's 100%, correct because I got it from Benjamin Moore as an example.
Oh, that's really good.
And so I'm always updating my tags. So like 2022, the color of the year for Benjamin Moore was, I think, October Mist. So I updated and created some new patterns with that. And then I made sure to use that tag. So, I mean, I always coming up with new tags. Viva Magenta is the new color of the year for Pantone. So of course I have that in there as well, because I did some new designs with that color.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best tips I ever got from Kat Cocolette was changing your tags on an annual basis based on the color of the year, going back through all your designs and seeing what is hitting that color point. So that's awesome.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like your tags are just like any other SEO product that you need to update.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're just search keywords. I mean, it's just the keywords. Right. But the cool thing too is that I love when a color of the year comes out because I can go back through my patterns that I know are top sellers and just change the colors. So I don't have to redesign anything. I just change colors and I have a new product. And then I just make sure to tag it correctly. Yep. And
see, that's just so smart right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you said that like that was nothing, but that's a big, like someone just stopped this and wrote that down, Carrie. Like that's really, I mean, makes sense now. I mean, like I know Julie does that and everything. Me and Stephanie, we just have to repaint it. But but I mean, like that's a big, oh my gosh, big point. You know what I mean? Like, so someone just wrote that down.
Well, that's one of the things and one of the reasons I wanted to teach my class was I've learned things like that. And that's in my class. I actually go a little more in depth on that, like looking at trends and really for me too, examining why things are trending, looking beyond, okay, they use this word, I'm going to use that word. It's like, well, maybe it's more than that, so really thinking about it from a customer's point of view. Why would I buy this? And what can I do to leverage that with my art?
So do you do a lot of research like with interior design, or do you try and you stay up to date, of course, because you're Benjamin Moore and paint and colors of the year and everything. So do you try and stay on top of trends and things that are going on just with interior design or also just in general?
I try to balance it. I try to do about 50% of what I create is semi-trend related. But 50% of it sometimes is just stuff that I want to do. And that's one of the things I love about Spoonflower is, if I have a crazy idea and I create a pattern of, I don't know, cats and hot air balloons, I can just put it on there and I don't have to even order a proof for people to see it. I can enter it in a design challenge. I don't have to pay to proof it because it's as long as it's now no one can buy it, but I can see if it gets a lot of likes, or if people don't respond to it or whatever. It's like a really good testing ground.
That's a great idea.
And I can just kind of see what people think. And, again, like if I have a cheater quilt with 42 designs and I throw a couple in there that are my wild cards that I think would be fun, it's like, okay, so I paid like 3 cents to proof that and it didn't do well. It's okay. I learned something. And then I also learned beyond that. Well, why do I think that happened? Is it because, they're cats, but, they're not cats that are doing something silly or, I try to examine and look beyond just the surface data.
I like that.
I do too. She meets our overthinker, criteria. I love it.
That can be a blessing and a curse. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yes. Definitely. Definitely a blessing and a curse. So do you ever go back and think, I think in Spoonflower, you get who purchased do you ever go back and ask for photographs of what they made with it or just thank them for purchasing your fabric or anything like that? Do you do any customer outreach?
It is funny you should ask because I do cover that in my class. I'll stop saying that, but I actually devised a really good system. So you have 2 options when someone buys something from you as far as messaging, like post sale. So there's one little checkbox you can check on there that's a default message that Spoonflower sends everyone. And everyone gets the same message as a customer, like, thank you for buying from Spoonflower. But then you also have an option, which I think is so cool, to create your own personal thank you message. And you can create it one time and save it on their site. So what I did was mine is like, thank you for purchasing from me. I would love to see what you create. Please tag me on Instagram. If you have any questions, here's my email address. If you'd like to see more, here's my website. And, thank you and enjoy, etc. And so I make sure to share all that information in the thank you message. And then whenever I get a notification, because I have my email notifications on, all I have to do is hit a little button that says send your personal thank you message. It takes 1 second and it sends that message to a customer, unless they're a guest customer. So if you check out as a guest, your data isn't stored. Right. But if you don't, then I can send you that thank you message. And I will tell you that I just had an amazing experience recently that I put my face back in the middle. I did instead of just doing a screen share in the middle of one of my lessons, I'm like, I have to tell you about this with me telling you, not just talking over a screen. I had a company in France recently contact me through Spoonflower after a purchase because they ordered some samples and said they loved a few of my patterns, 6 of them. and they want to use them. They create luxury slippers, luxury women's slippers. This is in France. And they print in the soles of the slippers like patterns. And they want to use 6 of my patterns for these slippers, but they needed them at really small scale. So I cover that as well as how to, you don't have to pay to proof an additional scale of the same design in the same colorway on Spoonflower, which is when I figured that out, I was like, whoa. So you can have one design with a colorway and you can have them activate multiple scales for free. And within days, it doesn't take weeks to, you don't have to wait for it to arrive in the mail or anything. And I was so excited when this happened. I'm a sucker for fashion. And so, of course, I responded immediately and I uploaded the scale that they needed, which was really helpful. They told me they needed it a certain size. So that was, there was no real back and forth. And I immediately contacted Spoonflower, got those sizes activated. And then one of the tricks I use is I create collections for not just animals and flowers or formal collections. I have private internal collections for myself to keep myself organized. But then for this customer, I created a collection for them that was just those 6 patterns in those scales. So then I could send them one link. And it really, I think, made them feel special. They said, wow, this is a collection just for us. And, the collection is public. Anyone can see it or buy from it. But I did that just for them. And for me, I've developed a great relationship and I'm licensing my art and I'm going to get credit on their website for this. And it just feels really good. I love doing that.
That's amazing.
And that all kind of sprouted out of my thank you message.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really exciting. And I'm like, I'm going to buy these slippers then when they're out.
You'll have to let us know because I might have to grab some as well. Because I've looked on here and there's like, I don't know, I'm going to be ordering fabric from you because they're just so stinking cute.
I'm on her Instagram also, and I'm seeing like her patterns on socks and fanny pack thing. And it's just unlimited. The potential that from a single design that you've created, unlimited potential for products in reach. Really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
This looks so good. And your cats and hot air balloons is adorable.
It is so stinking adorable. I love also the Meowie Christmas one.
Oh, thanks.
That one. I love your brain. Your brain is amazing.
I can blame all that on my cats. We have 3 rescue cats. We have 2 black cats. And that's why I keep creating black cats. I mean, they literally invade every aspect of my sleeping and waking life anyway. And I love them to death. So I can't help it because it's like, people say that you write what you see or you draw or create what you see. I mean, that's like 99% of my life is my cats.
Cat and the cat attitude.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah. And I love your Viva Magenta bunny pattern.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was actually just featured. Spoonflower did an email about tablescapes recently and getting, matching placemats, napkins, and tablecloths. And mine is one of the featured that bunnies, because it's the year of the rabbit.
Yep.
And I was like, well, why don't I do the color of the year of the rabbit?
Yeah, perfect.
That's so funny. I actually started, I didn't realize it was Year of the Rabbit, but I started a painting last week because I wanted to do the Viva Magenta and I threw the bunny in it because Easter's coming up, really. That's why I did it. And
it's perfect though.
I love it. Well, you guys really do need to go check out Carrie's work.
Yeah.
One, go like all her social media, please. Your Instagram is adorable. I've already liked everything. Your Spoonflower is amazing. I'm going to be ordering stuff for you. You have costing me money today, girlfriend.
Sorry.
And I'm going to have to take your Spoonflower account class on Skillshare. Yeah. And
you piqued my interest because, Julie keeps on trying with me. Bless her.
To sign up
for everyone. And there's a place for all sorts of different art. Yeah.
She keeps on it's just for whatever reason not sticking. And I'm not a stupid person.
No, you're not.
No, but
really nice. And you're on Society 6. Your website has everything.
Yeah.
Go sign up for Carrie's newsletter. Her classes are listed on her website. She has a great blog, her illustrations, her patterns.
She does not sleep, folks. So
no,
go follow her. Love everything that she's doing.
And when you're in Atlanta, look her up. Her stuff is there. She's usually, she's going to be somewhere this weekend, even though this is going to be airing at a different time. But
if this airs after this coming weekend, I can share that. I'd be delighted to.
But it's going to air after this. But
yeah.
But you do get out and about. Like you do go to your quilts, patterns, and skill. Spoonflower has all your work up. It's just incredible amount of really talented work, Carrie.
Thank you.
I've noticed.
Well, I have some upcoming exciting art licensing things in the works that I can't share yet. But if you stay tuned to my email newsletter, I'll be announcing that with bells on. But I do have some things in the works right now. I'm sure you guys are aware with licensing. Formal licensing, it takes a little while.
Yeah.
But stay tuned. You'll be seeing some more exciting things soon.
Awesome.
We really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us and just encouraging us. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I know our listeners are going to benefit. So sorry, Carrie.
Oh, I just said thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I really love your podcast. So
when you get your licensing deals are coming up, we'll have to have you back on so you can help encourage us and our listeners, like how all that came about. That would be an interesting.
And I bet that'll lead to another Skillshare class too.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. I mean, I've learned a lot. It's definitely its own beast for sure.
Yes,
I believe it. Thanks again for being on with us. And until next time, guys.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Artists Soar,
a podcast for artists by artists. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at hello@artistsoar.com.
and be sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts so that you can get more of us and we can bring in some sponsors to help you and help us.